Well, see, St. Thomas himself didn't stress his originality. Contemporary philosophers, everybody wants to be original and new. That was not the attitude of the medieval philosophers. They first wanted to situate themselves in tradition and then sort of expand it a bit. So he didn't stress the originality. It was where he just quietly interpreted other philosophers as really trying to say or leading up to what he was saying. So he didn't stress his originality. He stressed his strong dependence on Aristotle, which was just coming into the medieval Christian world and was a great threat in its pure form. It was an opportunity and a threat because part of Aristotle was quite incompatible with Christianity. So he was trying to assimilate and show how you could adapt to Aristotle. So he didn't stress saying, I'm original, I'm doing something entirely new. He didn't stress that. So the first disciples missed it. One of his great disciples, Báñez, the Spanish Dominican, a commentator, caught it early in I think it was the 17th century. He caught it and he put it in his own commentary, but couldn't get the other commentators and Dominicans to share it. So he once, in great frustration, cried out, he said, St. Thomas cries out, existence, existence, and the Thomists refused to listen. They didn't get it. He got it and it got lost. And now Gilson has republished in English a translation of that part of his commentary on existence, a little book, Báñez on Existence. He got it and the others didn't get it. They got part of the vision, but not really the full one. So it was not highlighted. That was the point. If it was there, the essence and existence distinction was there, but not the highlighting of existence as the guts, the perfection of everything, so to speak. Essence was still sort of had its own perfection, which existence realized. But St. Thomas says this, the existence, the act of existence contains all the perfection, and essence just limits it down. So it's a centering on existence, which is a very dynamic notion, because the act of existence in St. Thomas is immediately a center of activity. That's one of the richest things, that any being, insofar as it exists, he says, tends to pour over and communicate itself to others. Every being is self-communicative insofar as it can. So as soon as you have a real being, it tends to pour over through action to communicate itself and share itself and get in touch with other things. So to be is to be an active presence, a power-filled presence, filled with energy and power. And that immediately starts to flow over according to the essence, like a river flowing through banks. So if you want, every finite being is like a channeled bundle of existence. It's got this energy inside, and the energy then goes out according to the mold or the pattern of the essence. So it's a highly dynamic notion. And God himself there, well, this is taking over really the whole Neoplatonic tradition of the self-diffusiveness of the good. Plato and Plotinus didn't attach that to being, which was a lesser notion for them, more limited essence. The good was the ultimate for them. And the good was naturally self-diffusive, generous, self-communicating. St. Thomas took over that tradition and put it right into existence itself. And the good is a function of existence now. But he took over that whole dynamic. So every being is naturally self-communicative and expansive. It's an expansive act. And that's what makes a universe. A universe means, in Latin, uni versum, turned towards one, turned towards unity. If things didn't act, they'd just be isolated monads here and there, sort of like in a darkness. They wouldn't know each other. But in this conception, as soon as they are, they act and they interact. So that's what connects up all the beings in the universe. They pour over in their activity and hook up with each other, communicate and share, receive and give. And then you have an actively intercommunicating universe. So that's the universe of real existence. A being that doesn't act might just as well not be at all. That's one of the most profound sayings, that you say, well, couldn't you have a being that doesn't act? Well, there's no logical contradiction. If you had it, it's interesting just to think that through. This is the kind of thing that a metaphysician would do. Let's suppose that you had a being that didn't act at all. Would that make sense? Well, first of all, nobody else could know that it was there. Because the only way that you know something is real is by its acting. I know that I'm real because I act. I know other things are real because they act upon me. If a thing didn't act upon you, there'd be no way of knowing that it exists. Unless you're God, the creator. There'd be no way of knowing. So a thing might exist. If it didn't act, it might just as well not exist. It would make no difference whatsoever to the universe. It'd be impossible to know it. And it would be indistinguishable from nothing. So it would be a perfect waste of time to have beings that didn't act. What we want to know about things is what kind of actors are they? If I know one of your children here, it's no good just to see them the outside. I want to know what kind of people, what kind of character and personality. That is to say, how do they act? What kind of actors are they? When you know anything, you always want to know what kind of an actor is it. We don't realize that, but to know the nature. What is a tree? A tree is something that sends out shoots and arms and branches and leaves. It slurps up water from the earth. It does a lot of things. So every being is a doer, a characteristic kind of actor. That's how we know things. That's how we know the essence and the nature. So action is absolutely essential. It's the key to all knowledge. The whole optimistic theory of knowledge can be summed up in a single sentence. All knowledge of the real is an interpretation of action, period. Interpretation of action. And the disastrous thing in the modern philosophy epistemology from Descartes on, they cut the bridge of action, dropped out action, and you got all the problems of the bridge ever since. Descartes didn't trust the external world, tried to deduce it all from innate ideas, and then Locke and Berkeley and Hume, they said, what we know are ideas. Then you have the problem, how do you get to reality? So they all cut off action, and then you say, well, how do we know? We've got these like pictures inside of a museum, but who knows where they come from? If they're just there statically, there's no way. You have to catch them in their incoming action, and then you can refer them back to the outside. So action is a real key, not just to the universe as being and unified, but also to knowledge of the universe.